Hi there, Cy Williams here, and I'm here to talk about some real issues that a lot of people have been dealing with these last few years. It's been a tough time for me personally. At the beginning of the pandemic, I lost my mom to her battle with cancer, and that was a year ago this last December. And since then, it feels like I've spent much of my time in quarantine and isolation. The isolation didn't help any of my close relationships either. Somewhere between Christmas and Valentine's this year, I suffered a similar but different type of loss as my closest and dearest friend and I parted ways. This was someone who was an anchor in my world, and as we painfully drifted away from each other, then finally this person was just gone. Gone without a word or an explanation, just gone. Not a death. And despite how it sounds, it really was the sudden death of a close friendship. And once, where someone existed in my life as a secure connection, there was now an empty and very sad void. The emotional connections that people have with those closest to them can provide deep sources of validation in their life. Knowing that someone cares about you can help you feel that you're safe, being looked after, and it makes it so you don't have to fear the unknown quite so much. When one person decides to sever the relationship, consequently, the impact on the other partner can be profound and long-lasting. Now, for me, it's been a few months, and I'm still mourning the social loss of my very dear friend in my life, on top of the very real and very permanent loss of my mom. So between the pandemic and everything else that has gone down over the last 2 years, I feel I have become intimately acquainted with isolation and loneliness. And this is why I would like to present you with some scientifically backed strategies to help you become less lonely and a happier person overall. Now remember, everything takes time. And don't beat yourself up if it all looks and feels overwhelming at first, because it can be. Healing from anything takes time, and we all as people need to make sure that we take the time we need to heal. Loneliness is a biological warning signal that one is failing to meet a basic human need, and that need is connection. Studies show that performing acts of kindness can make a person feel happier and less lonely. Research shows people who start meditating for 20 minutes a day can be significantly less lonely after just 14 days. Feeling lonely? Well, guess what? You're not alone. A 2018 study done by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that 22% of U.S. adults reported they often or always feel lonely, and perhaps not surprisingly, new research shows that people have gotten even lonelier since the start of the pandemic. The good news, if there is good news, is that the key to unlocking loneliness is actually in your hands. You don't have to wait for your social circle to grow or your social calendar to fill. There are simple steps you can take today to feel less lonely and more connected. Okay, here's one. Understanding the nature of loneliness. As I've talked about in an earlier post, loneliness is a biological warning signal that lets us know that we're failing to meet a basic human need, that need for social connection. And now, much like hunger motivates us to eat, loneliness drives us to strengthen our social relationships. In this way, loneliness can be good for us. Now, the problem is that the brain interprets perceived isolation as a threat to survival. As a result, your brain enters a self-preservation mode when you feel lonely. Your subconscious mind becomes hyper-vigilant about distinguishing friends from foes, causing it to perceive threats even when they don't exist. Now, for example, the lonely brain might interpret an innocuous behavior, for instance, a friend forgetting to return your call, as a personal attack. An important first step to tackling loneliness is to understand this biological warning signal and bring conscious awareness to the ways that loneliness may have distorted your thoughts about other people. And it can happen. It's important not to deny your feelings. You're not ashamed to admit when you're hungry or thirsty, right? So why should it be any different with feelings of loneliness? Remember, loneliness is simply a biological response to perceived isolation. It is not a sign that there is something wrong with you, not at all. You need to dismantle the warning signal. The signal of loneliness doesn't have an off switch, but you can help your brain reset itself. You can try engaging in practices that invoke the body's relaxation response, such as mindfulness or yoga. Now, in one study, people who started meditating for 20 minutes a day were significantly less lonely after just 14 days. You can get social. Now, people who have felt lonely for an extended period of time tend to withdraw from social interactions, causing them to miss out on valuable opportunities for social connection. This tendency is to withdraw as another natural consequence of the brain's readiness to defend you against potential threats. So make an effort to be social, even if you're an introvert. Something else you can do is expect the best. Now, after a bout of loneliness, people often have negative expectations of social encounters. Now, this ranges from, oh my God, this conversation is going to be so awkward, or oh my God, I think they hate me. Now, you can find a therapist. That might help. Let's see. Therapists are a good thing to look into. You can look into social influence and loneliness, and I understand that there are at least 20 ways that you can feel less lonely and more connected. There are some scientifically backed strategies that are out there to meet your social needs. Some key points that you should think about. That loneliness is a biological warning signal that one is failing to meet a basic human need, and that need is connection. Studies show that performing acts of kindness can make a person feel happier and less lonely. Research also shows people who start meditating for 20 minutes a day, as I mentioned, are significantly less lonely after just 2 weeks. So are you feeling lonely? You're not alone. A 2018 study done by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that 22% of U.S. adults reported they often or always feel lonely, and perhaps not surprisingly, new research shows that people have gotten even lonelier since the pandemic. The good news is that the key to unlocking loneliness is in your hands. You don't have to wait for your social circle to grow or your social calendar to fill up. There are simple steps that you can take today to feel lonely and more connected. We've gone over a few of them. Now, we've talked about understanding the nature of loneliness, and we've talked about meditation. We've talked about mindfulness. But there are a lot of other things that you can do to help battle this overwhelming feeling of loneliness that you might be feeling right now. It's important to strengthen our social relationships. Now, one problem is that the brain can interpret isolation as a threat to survival. Interesting, right? Now, when our brain enters a self-preservation mode, we feel lonely. Our subconscious mind becomes vigilant, hyper-vigilant even, and it starts distinguishing who's a friend, who's a foe. It starts seeing threats where they don't even exist. And your lonely brain might even sense this, a friend forgetting to text you back as a personal attack, and you can't look at it like that. An important first step in tackling loneliness is to understand this biological warning signal and be aware of how it may distort your thoughts about other people. Don't deny your feelings. If you're not ashamed to admit when you're hungry, thirsty, or tired, then why should accepting or acknowledging that you're lonely be any different? Remember, loneliness is simply a biological response to perceived isolation, and it's not a sign that anything is wrong with you. You can dismantle your personal warning system, and the signal of loneliness doesn't have to be on all the time. You can help your brain reset itself. Try engaging in practices that invoke the body's relaxation response. I mentioned mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. Petting your dog helps a lot too, because that's what I've been doing throughout this whole video. It's important to be social. People who have felt lonely for an extended period of time They have a tendency to withdraw from social interactions, causing them to miss out on valuable opportunities for social connection. This tendency to withdraw is actually another natural consequence of the brain's readiness to defend you against potential threats. The next time you feel the temptation to withdraw, don't give in to it. Make an extra effort to be social. Even if you're an introvert, you'll be surprised to find how much it actually helps. Expect the best, despite having gone through the worst. After a bout of loneliness, people often have negative expectations of social encounters. And that's normal, but it's important to go into engagements like this optimistically and not pessimistically. The world is not out to get you. Are you concerned that others will reject you? Well, consider that your brain may be overreacting. After all, most people, even strangers, are benign and open to the possibility of connection. Now, another thing you can do is use solitude to reframe your negative thoughts. If you've become jaded about your social life, spend some time in solitude before interacting with others. Spending time with yourself without the distraction of your phone provides an excellent opportunity to reframe your negative thoughts, which will help future interactions go more smoothly. You can also talk to strangers. And if you're like most people, you think that talking to strangers will be awkward. Yet research shows that conversations with strangers often go much better than expected. In fact, most people feel happier and more connected after talking to someone they've just met. So, strike up a conversation with the bus driver, the person serving you coffee, the bank teller, or any other people you may encounter through your day. You may even meet a new friend. Now, the importance of eye contact. If the idea of talking to strangers is too much for you, start by making eye contact with them. Research suggests that acknowledging the people you cross paths with, i.e. using eye contact or a smile, can help you both feel a little more connected. It's important to be kind. Studies show that performing acts of kindness can make you feel happier and less lonely. Try it. Perform 5 random acts of kindness in a single day. You can do something small by writing an online review of your favorite restaurant, or something big, like assembling a care package and delivering it to one of your neighbors. Those are always nice. You can also call an old friend. In recent studies, researchers asked people to reach out to an old friend, either by calling them or sending them an email. The people who made a phone call felt much more connected to their friend than those who sent the email. Trade convenience for connection and make that call. You'll be glad you did. You can also have deeper conversations with people. People feel happier and more connected when they skip the small talk and actually engage in meaningful conversation. Invite some of your friends or colleagues over to try this out. You can try out the Fast Friends technique, which involves answering questions such as, for what in your life do you feel most grateful? Another thing you can do is put your phone away during conversations. Nothing more irritating than talking to someone and having them on the phone. Research invited people to have a meal at a restaurant with friends or family and asked them to keep their phones on the table or to simply put them away. Now, which group do you think enjoyed the experience more? The participants who put their phones away felt much less distracted during the meal, and their ability to be fully present enhanced their enjoyment of the meal and of the company they had at the meal. Now, use social media wisely is another step. So some evidence that using Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and other social media sites actually contributes to depression and loneliness. And of course, the effects depend on how you use it. If you use social media to connect with existing friends and make new ones, then this technology can help you feel less lonely. However, mindlessly scrolling through other people's carefully crafted posts will probably leave you feeling disconnected and dissatisfied. Something I like to do, I go for a walk in the woods, and I've been doing this every day lately. Research shows that being in nature can actually strengthen your sense of social connection, even when you're experiencing it alone. So go for a walk in the woods, or just pay attention to the natural beauty you encounter in your everyday life. Doing so may remind you that you are part of a larger whole. You can also get a pet. I have 3, and science has confirmed what many pet owners already know. Beloved pets are good for our social well-being. A pet can help stave off negativity that arises from loneliness. They can also be a catalyst for social interaction. Get into a positive mindset and take your dog, cat, rabbit, lizard, or tarantula to the park. See how that goes. Warmth. And a fascinating line of research shows that our bodily states can influence our thoughts and feelings. A phenomenon called embodied cognition. Being cold can increase feelings of loneliness, whereas being warm can actually increase and create feelings of social warmth. Are you reaching for your blanket or heater yet? Now, you can also practice loving kindness meditation, and that is a practice that cultivates a caring attitude towards yourself and others, and it can increase your sense of social connectedness. Now, you can check out this short practice online, just Google it. You can also volunteer. Volunteering is a great way to shift your focus from yourself to others. It's also a great way to make new connections. In a recent survey, of over 10,000 volunteers, 68% of respondents reported feeling less isolated as a result of their volunteer work. You can also get connection on demand. You can generate feelings of connection just with your own thoughts. Try it. When was the last time you felt a strong bond with someone? What made you feel connected to them? Spend a few minutes thinking about this experience, savoring the feeling of togetherness, and notice whether the practice leaves you feeling a little more connected or maybe not. Try it though, see how it works. Now, the difference between loneliness and depression is important to note. Research shows that there is a reciprocal relationship between depression and loneliness. They each fuel the other. If you're depressed, keep fighting it until you find something that helps. And try to think optimistically about the future, one in which you will grow increasingly connected to yourself and to others. Okay, a big shout out and thanks to Psychology Today and to author Natalie Kerr, PhD, who is a social psychologist and a professor at James Madison University, for much of this amazing information. That's it for me today. Stay lifted, everyone, and I'll see you later.